So since I'm depetaling some roses, I figured, while doing it, I figured give you Rosie for Dummies. Not really. Not really with that kind of connotation, but still. So, the rose. And funny enough, this is I can't recall what kind of rose this is. There's like a specific name for it when I got the bouquet of it. But as you can see, it's white and red. And I'll get into like the color scheme and all that. But at the very core of it, the rose originally was white. And originally, that being white, the rose was originally a plant of the moon. Because the moon is the originator of where beauty comes from. And purity, like pure love at its purest, like unconditional, that's love at its purest. And white is the color of innocence, purity, and receptivity. Also, gentleness, you want to be technical. So, now that we know that white is the original color, then where did all the color associations come with it? Like white, red, pink, well, not white, I just said white, but pink, red, blue, yellow, and what have you. Well, for the pink and red rose, when Aphrodite was, I believe it was this tale too, but when Aphrodite was going behind Ares' back now, after Hephaestus's, well, okay. Either way, Ares got jealous that she was spending time with somebody else than him, so Ares went to this individual, I can't recall his name, sorry for that, and he started table flipping on him. In other words, beating on him and threatening him and the whatnot. Aphrodite being nearby and pretty concerned and pretty worried about the other person that, she was going behind now Ares' back with, she quickly ran to his aid, but in the midst of running, she accidentally nipped herself on a plant, I can't remember which one, and because of that, that's when her divine blood fell to the earth and a white rose bush got the red irony hit on it. And that's when the rose started to turn pink. But since Aphrodite was still bleeding, some parts of this same rose bush got hit more and more and more. So that's why the tones got deeper, red, 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 red. That's just one tale. And I mean, there's so many other tales regarding the rose, like how Our Lady Mary, yes, I call her Our Lady because that's her title, she's associated with white roses as well. And usually when you give roses to somebody, you're kind of giving the message of like, I think you're kind of important to me. It also depends on like what color you're giving them, if that makes sense. But roses can be used as a very versatile ingredient to any kind of the workings or herb mixes you're making. But now we're going to get into like some of the practical everyday uses that aren't magical. One of them being rose water. If you intake it, rose is known to be perhaps the only plant that if you consume it, it actually adapts to what your body is lacking in terms of nutrients and minerals and vitamins. It actually adapts and it corrects and balances you out. Rose is known to be probably the only plant, to my knowledge, that can adapt to what you lack. That's the first one. Rose also and I do this regularly, and probably why I still look like I'm 13, but I'm 27, is if you take like the rose petals, and after you are finished with like your shower or bath, you can actually put in like some warm water onto like the petal, and then that's your facial wipe. Or you can even wipe it all over your body, wherever you deem fit that you need it. And the rose will actually go in and actually help relax, them wrinkle spots if you have them, if they apply to you. And also, you can also take rose petals and add them to a hot bath, or even put them in like a little bag that you can have them sit in, and then have the hot water go over it and kind of make like a bath tea bag. That way, all the rose petals and the nutrients and its chemical biology stuff then gets put into the bath water. And then voila, you have a rosy bath. And that bath water, because when you have water be applied to the skin pulls it in and absorbs it. You just can't feel it. Also, that's why I kind of heavily suggest to people, hey, if you're going to be needing some skincare or some kind of routine to help your skin, get your rose petals and get your treatment, whatever, or you can even use the petals as a washcloth and then put your body wash or herbal body wash mix or what have you. Get a little small handful of petals, put it on the petal, fold up the petal, and then just there you go. There's your washcloth, and then there's your face or body cleanser to keep you looking youthful. Now, magically, obviously, we all know, I hope, roses can be used for love workings, and depending on the color, you can have white be the all-purpose, or if you want to make something more pure, you can have the red ones be for, invoking the nasty, if you get what I mean, or be seduceful. You can also even offer white roses to Our Lady if you work with her. You can offer red roses to Lilith, or any lust goddess like Ishtar, and Nana. We get the idea. You can also offer white roses to Hera if you work with Hera, but even though she is probably more of a Iris and Lily kind of a person who would prefer to have, well, not person, divine, that would prefer that flower instead. Roses are pretty much given the ability to be very adaptive, and you can also use rose essential oil if you would really want to in exchange for the rose petals. But if it was for me, in my loving opinion, I would probably just stick to drying the petals, and that's why I'm depetaling these, because look how many petals you got. Once these dry out, you can just add these to an herb mix and then just crush them up. That's why I prefer, to use petals instead of rose oil, because rose oil is expensive. And I have nothing against using rose essential oil. It's just that, why don't we keep our wallet nice and roomy instead of, cobwebby. You can also use roses in hexing, believe it or not. But again, you got to keep in mind what color is the rose and how are you going to implement it into there. Like for an example, you can make a... Okay, we're getting dark with this, even though it's kind of not expected, but you can actually make a love hex herb mix by taking white roses, and then you're adding your hex-related material, like poppy seed. That way you can hex somebody's love life and make them get confused and pretty much unstable and unsure and can't think straight regarding their love affair if they have one. Or, you could just mess someone up romantically so that way when they try and stick it, instead of sticking it in the right spot, it gets stuck in a bear trap. I don't know, hey, if somebody needs to learn how to keep their sausage link to themselves. Heck, sometimes you gotta put in a bear trap, or you gotta make something be sewn shut in all due respects. But I digress. Other colors of roses you can use. You can, if you happen to have like a blue rose, like you can stick roses in water and they're white, and then you can just have food coloring them to add the color. Even though that's kind of an unnatural way, but I'm one of those people that says, heck, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, oh well, then don't do it. Blue roses you can use for reconciliation, healing, calming. You can use oranges for having BS and blockages, just get out of your life. You can use that too. Yellow roses to, help someone lighten up a little bit and calm down and be a little bit more happy, cheery instead of hissy and fitty. Green roses, you can use green roses in place of red because green is actually the color of the heart point, and green is one of the original colors for that, but green and pink kind of have the same purpose. Or if you want to actually grow a love between two people, use the green roses because green is the closest to, nature growing and wildlife. You can use that too. If you have a black rose, like a black velvet, give it to me because that's my favorite rose and my near almost favorite plant. No, but in all seriousness, you can use black velvet to help protect a love affair of yours and also to keep it hidden from negative influence because black is the color of protection and not just about, afflicting people with something that they need to be afflicted with. And if you're planning on drawing rose petals like how I'm doing it, what I'm doing is, again, obviously, depetaling every single one of them that I have that doesn't look depressing. And just going to be leaving them in this container and letting them just dry out naturally. Do not put a lid on top of it because that'll make them rot. You have to let them air out. And when you let them air out, it's best to put them in a spot where you won't, whiff them. But pretty much rose is it's a plant that's very adaptable, if that makes sense. It can adapt to any situation, and when in doubt, you can use rose petals or the rose altogether, and actually when you put it in a mix, just give it well, I don't want to say order, just give it the focus point of adapting to whatever I am lacking, become like what I'm lacking in the specific working. Like for an example, say if you were trying to, every time I always have to come up with stuff that's dark, but oh well, deal with it. Say, if you're needing something like, I'm trying to even think of like a really difficult herb that you can't get a hold of. Well, at least for me, one of the most difficult herbs for me to get is Damiana. Okay, so with Damiana, needing to be the herb I need to get or use for a specific working, well, I don't have it, so I need to have a substitute. So, rose. When you're putting it in, just give it the intent to be like, hey, I need you to adapt to this situation that I'm in, and I'm needing somewhat the idea of Damiana's effect. And then you put it in, and then you smash it, or you can just have it be put around, or however the heck you're doing it. Just constantly give it the effect of, okay, adapt like if you were Damiana. Adapt to the situation I am to best ensure that whatever I'm needing to have happen works, as an example. And you can also make rose water, and probably about the amount of petals I have here, which is quite an amount. And I like how one just decided to go. Meh. So you can take like a little, I would have to say metal pot, and fill it up to just where the roses touch the water, just enough. And then you just make the water nice and hot and boily, but not too hot because you'll fry them. Kind of like a warm boil, and then just keep stirring repeatedly, and then sooner or later the petals are going to be a little bit looking. But then after the stirring for about, I had to say about 30 to 45 minutes on a medium-high steam. After you're done, drain it out, and then just get all the petals out of there, but drain the water out very slowly like through a strainer, and then strain it over like a little, about like a vase or a container, and then there's rose water, which you then can use to implement in rituals, and another rose decided to go out the window, and there's another one. But roses pretty much is one of the herbs that is extremely adaptable, just like rosemary. Rosemary does what she pleases. Rose is kind of like the princess of it. Rosemary's like the queen, like, don't mess with me. But those are roses. And if anybody actually has any ideas that they want to include regarding roses, please feel free to plop them below. And other than that, I'll see you guys on the next magical, witchy, whatever, McHoo-hoo later.